One of the things that I've been privileged to be involved in over the past year or so is an initiative in the North America called OpenIX, which some of you may be familiar with. So it's a slightly different path towards internet exchange world domination than what Bijal's just been talking about. So I'm a non-executive board member at OpenIX. I didn't submit this talk because I'm PC chair anymore. We have different chairs for the PCs. So okay, and yes, the slide went. It's okay. This is just a marketing picture of lots of Ethernet sockets, so don't worry about it being mangled. Also, I suspect the content will be rather familiar to you. I think one of the important things is to understand is that within Europe, we're actually significantly ahead in the way that our internet exchange and data center market is structured. Back in the early links days, we made a decision that we were going to be data center neutral, that the internet exchange was an entity that is separate from the data center provider, and that we'd have a relationship with multiple data center providers. And one of the reasons that EuroX and related all the internet exchange operators in Europe have been so successful is because of that model, which has promoted diversity in both the internet exchange and data center market. In the US, it's been a bit different. The market has developed differently. And that has led to some challenges, which OpenIX was set up as a means of solving that problem. Interconnection, we all know that interconnection and exchange are critical. You know, there's an up and to the right graph from one source of information. You saw Bijal's as well. What are we trying to do, OpenIX? We're trying to improve the environment for interconnection. And we're doing that through a standards-based and certification-based approach. So we have our mission, make it better. OpenIX was founded on a North American basis. Its focus has been very much US-based. The Canadian internet exchange market is subtly different from the American one. But basically, it is a classical internet non-profit entity. We have US 501c6 non-profit trade association status. It's about self-regulation. It's about doing that through setting standards for improving resiliency and reliability. And as I mentioned, it's by certifying against these standards. So why did we think this was necessary? The structure of the North American internet exchange market, most of the major internet exchanges were operated by data center providers. There was quite a lot of consolidation in that market, which meant that there was actually very few buildings that had a small number of major internet exchanges operated by a very small number of companies. And a lot of the internet providers in North America felt that that was making costs higher than they should be, and that they were potentially limiting choice. So the idea with OpenIX is that there are lots of internet exchanges out there by diverse operators, some of them non-profit membership organizations like your classical European model, or potentially other models. But the important thing is that there's choice. And there's also a choice of data center operators. And the idea is that there is beneficial reciprocal certification. Data centers that get OpenIX certification can be open to internet exchange operators that do certification and vice versa. And it seems to be stimulating a competitive response. I will not repeat certain tweets that were made yesterday, but there seems to be a competitive response from some of the incumbents. And the idea is to reduce the concentration, increase the penetration, the market penetration, and basically make things perform and have better uptime. There's two ways that you can engage with OpenIX. One is an individual member. You pay you $50 a year. You do that as an individual or as a professional in the sector. Membership is open to all. And basically, you get involved in the process of defining the standards. If you're a data center internet exchange operator, you can sign up for certification. That costs you $5,000 either per data center facility, or in the US, there's actually this. I remember lots of discussions about what is the diameter of an internet exchange point. You know, is it a city? Is it a STD, a dialing code? Is it a geographic distance? In the US, there's this formal definition of something called a metropolitan service area. And OpenIX adopted that, but we've now decided to get rid of that because we don't want it to be focused on the US. But So if you think of it as a metro area, San Francisco Bay Area, New York, passing over into New Jersey. As I said, membership is open to all. Obviously, it's important if you're interested and you're not just joining because you want to add it to your LinkedIn profile or something like that. You get a vote, you get to nominate and elect the directors, you get to serve on the Voluntary Standards Committee, provide input on the certification applications. Once you've paid, you basically get the same membership class as everybody else for a year. I don't know enough about the European data center market these days to know if this is true, but in the US, basically, there's a bifurcation into very large data centers. These are the ones that tend to be in the middle of nowhere because that's where power and cooling is cheap, and there's long backhaul, and there's lots and lots of storage capacity in there. And obviously, you need to be less concerned about latency and bandwidth for that. And then there are smaller data centers, which tend to be the more expensive ones. They're concentrated in the major cities. New York, DC, Chicago, San Francisco. They're near the population centers because they need short latency to the eyeballs. There's CDN space there, and it's important to keep the latency and jitter low and do quite a lot of traffic management. How does the certification work? Well, somebody once suggested that we should have a team of guys and gals in white coats with clipboards going around data centers and checking stuff off. Clearly, that's infeasible. It's not your ISO 9000 style certification. Rather, what happens is that there is a checklist of standards. People publish their compliance against that, and then that is verified by basically knowledge of the facilities that are being promoted. There are two standards. There's a technical requirements for internet exchanges, which is all about, and there's a technical requirements for data centers. And these are about the obvious things that you might think. It's about, for the internet exchanges, about switching, fabric, physical interfaces, traffic forwarding, do you operate a route server, and things like providing statistics, keeping your peering DB contacts up and running. It's not a secret society, there is actually details. And then the data center, it's much more about physical infrastructure you can kick. Also things like processes, practices, service levels. What do you do about maintaining your fuel tank for your generators and your UPSs? Also, a very important point is open, non-discriminatory access and pricing. It's very clear that OpenIX, much as we would like to see certain, our members not have to pay as much for their Interconnect services, we cannot do anything about pricing. We are not about pricing that is illegal. Rather what we require as the standards is that pricing is transparent and non-discriminatory. There are no secret sweetheart deals being done between the data centers and their customers. And all this information should be accessible. These are the OpenIX Board of Directors. I suspect that some of them may be familiar to you from their involvement in Nanog. Again, they're mostly North American, well, they're entirely North American-based people apart from me. Well, I'm based in North America, I'm just not American. Anyway, so you think that UKNOF is too many committees. Well, actually, OpenIX is 5 committees. 2 of them are for each of the standards. The membership committee is for signing people up. Marketing committee is for promoting OpenIX. And then the program committee is charged with running the new conference. Who's certified? Well, funnily enough, of the 4 internet exchanges that are certified, 2 are Europeans that are moving into the US. So I'm sure you're very familiar with Links and AMSIX. They've been very enthusiastic participants. And then the other 2 are smaller community internet exchanges. Lots and lots of data center operators. Some of these will be familiar to you. Others are very much North American based, but you can see there's very enthusiastic response. And then the final thing I wanted to mention was America's Interconnection Summit. Basically this is a new event. Again, there's been concerns expressed that there is a lack of events to discuss peering which are open to all and which are not too tied too closely to particular vendors. So this is the response, and it's going to be in San Diego just around Easter. And it's open to all, and we're looking for active engagement. There's been quite a lot of interest in that. And there's the mission statement. So that is basically what I had to say about OpenIX. Anyone got any questions? Okay, well, thank you all. Right.
Very well done.
Thank you.